Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Hello and welcome to Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. I'm your host, John Johnson. And before I go any further, I want to share with you that I'm partnering with Care Of. Care Of is a subscription service that delivers vitamins and supplements which are customized for your specific health needs. You take a short quiz and answer some questions about your diet and your lifestyle, your fitness, and your health goals, and Care Of will put together a personalized plan just for you. I'm going to share a little bit more about that later on. Here's an interesting topic, and it's contentment. And when it comes to the sex thing, here's how I'm going to frame this up. When are men content? I've asked this in terms of the topic for this show. When it comes to sex, men are content after they've had sex, after they've orgasmed, after they've relaxed. And that's a wonderful time for a man. Now, if you put the same question to a woman, the responses that I receive is, women are content when they feel close to their partner. So obviously the response is going to be different from men to women because obviously they're different people, but I think how it feels to them is the same. So here's the point. For men, lovemaking is a huge expression of acceptance, being accepted, love, compassion, all of those things. The opposite of rejection. See, it's the acceptance, it's the love. And by having his partner close, there's contentment and there's satisfaction in that. Now, when I talk to women, and when you use the word content, it almost seems to have a negative connotation to it because it seems as if they're settling. That when a guy is content, he is just settling. He's not going to try hard for anything else. He's not going to do anything. See, the thing is with guys, contentment is really about having things in balance, not wanting to rock the boat. It's no different in terms of if I were to describe a visual of, let's say a guy is walking along a 2x4 and he's able to keep it in balance. See, that's success for a guy. See, if he falls off that 2x4, then he's not happy. He's like, oh man, I fell. But as long as he's able to walk that 2x4 back and forth, see, he's content. He's got things in balance. Now, that's a guy visual. But say the same thing to a woman about contentment. I mean, using the word as she perceives the guy. Then she's unsatisfied. At least it appears to be. At least, again, from the women that I've spoken to, because it's the way the women interpret the man content, not going to work hard, not going to try. And think about this. When does a woman see a guy feeling content? It's after sex. What do women see of a guy after sex? He's just laying there. He's resting. He's relaxing. He's recuperating. That whole thing. So when a man is content, he's in a relaxed state. When a woman sees a man is content, she sees this is all he is right now. And when you think about how she interprets what's it going to take to get this guy up, to get him fired up to do something for me. I need him to do something. I don't want him laying down. Because, see, after sex, what do women do? Women get up. They move around. They do the laundry. They cook. They become this other part of their being. See, contentment for women isn't lack of activity. It is just the opposite. And see, it's really a difference in the sexes and how we interpret that. And I think there's a lot of miscommunication because of how we interpret that. Remember, a guy, contentment, he's laying there, he's in recovery mode. A woman, contentment, she gets up, she gets busy, she gets really active. And, from a guy's perspective, remember I talked about keeping that in balance. It's not that he loves you less than you love him. And it's easy to think he might not, because when he's content, he's just laying there. How is him laying there an expression of his love? And think about this. In those moments when women have tried to have conversations with guys about their feelings, what generally happens? I mean, it's not all the time, but oftentimes what happens? He might be in that space where he doesn't want to talk. Guys tend to draw into themselves. And like I say, they're in recovery mode. So sometimes it is very challenging for them to go into the thought process part of this. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, there are a lot of well-meaning, there are a lot of guys who have that on the tip of their tongue, and they're very articulate about that. And, and it doesn't sound like a canned answer, because, guys could rehearse a script and have that ready for you all the time, but, that would, that wouldn't be very authentic, and I think you'd catch on to that anyway. But back to the contentment and the not being available, not being accessible, at least for that moment. And all of this happens when? After sex. So it might seem like there's this correlation for those moments, there's this detachment, and it might, it's because of sex is why he's doing that. Well, yeah, kind of, sort of, because the guy really put a lot of effort into it. And it's a lot of work. Orgasm is a lot of work for some guys. And if you're a woman, I'm not saying it's not work for women. I'm just really explaining the difference in styles, the difference in communication. And with the mixed messages, what happens with sex during these times is it can become a bit of a bone of contention. Because if her perspective is that he is going to tune out, is going to withdraw from me, and sex is the reason that's happening, that she's going to not want to be too intimate around situations like that. And I think it's for those kinds of reasons why guys have to work really hard to get sex from a woman. So he has to put in the investment up front. He can work afterwards, after he's got the relationship, and then knows what his job is, his routine is, in order to keep romance alive. But think about all the work we do to become intimate. A lot of people think of it as, he works hard for it. It's all about the chase, and then he gets it. And then after the chase is over, then he doesn't want it. See, there's a lot of things that kind of fit that construct. But I think it really has to do with the interpretation of the closeness, the intimacy, and how when it happens, what are we interpreting at that point? I'm going to take a break. I'll come back. I'll talk about this some more. Hi there, I'm John, the host of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, and I've partnered with Care Of. Now, Care Of is a subscription service that delivers vitamins and supplements which are customized for your specific health needs. Now, you take a short quiz and answer a few questions about your diet, lifestyle, your fitness, and your health goals, and Care Of will put together a personalized plan that's just for you. So you can get back into a healthy routine, and with summer being here, make health and wellness a priority again. Care Of makes it easy to upgrade your health routine. You can give yourself the support this season with a boost. Now, whether you're looking for energy, better sleep, to manage your stress, or something else to help you feel your healthiest, their online quiz will let you know exactly what you need. See, Care Of's fun online quiz will ask you questions about your diet, your health goals, lifestyle choices, and it only takes probably about 5 minutes to find them out. Now, there's a scientifically backed vitamin and supplement recommendations that go with this. So your answers to the questions like how much sleep you're getting, or are you looking for more energy? Do you need something to help support your weight management, or do you want healthy hair, skin, and nails? See, the questions are really personalized, but they help you get exactly what you need. Now, it's easy and convenient. So it can be hard to know what vitamins or supplements you should be taking. I mean, imagine going into a vitamin store and there's just shelf after shelf after shelf of choices. But when you take their online quiz, they figure out the choices for you. So it makes it really easy and convenient. Now, depending upon your personalized care plan, you'll get daily vitamin packs and or protein powders, and they'll be sent right to your door. It's customized, and the packets even say your name on them. Now, you can also modify your subscription at any time when your needs or preferences change. So Care Of makes sure that what you're putting into your body comes from the best sources, and they're backed by honest guidance and transparency. And it's all available to you on their website. Check it out. Care Of now offers protein powders, and they're available in individual packets or in tubs. And they're all personalized to your fitness goals and dietary preferences. The individually wrapped packages are also made from compostable plant-based film that meet the same safety standards, so your vitamins are kept fresh while now being better for the environment. Vegan and vegetarian supplement options are available to match your dietary needs and to assure that you're getting nutrients for those specific kinds of diets. So here's the website, takecareof.com. That's takecareof.com. Now, here's the good part. In the promo code, you can get 20% off your first order if you put in the word relationship. Remember, go to takecareof.com and enter in the promo code the word relationship. You'll get 20% off. You see? So not only will you get a great service and great supplements, but it's very easy, and you're going to get 20% off that first order. So give it a try. I took the online quiz and was amazed at how easy and thorough it was. My vitamins arrived for me in just over a week, and I've been taking them. And let me tell you, I feel the difference. So I'm going to encourage you to do the same. Remember, go to takecareof.com and enter relationship in the promo code. You get your 20% off. So experience the Care Of difference. It's easy and convenient. They have their online quiz and make it part of your good health routine.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hello, welcome back to Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. Now, picking up where we left off, I think one of the takeaways from this, and I really want this, to drive this point home, it's men don't care about women less because they're content. Remember, that's a word. And how we interpret this is what's significant. Men understand when another man says the word content. Women who are very emotional, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad, not at all. Have a desire to want to hear words as an expression of a man's sentiment. And the word content doesn't make the cut. It's not even in that vocabulary for a woman when it comes to feeling appreciated and loved and supported and romanced and all of those things. See, the word content doesn't even jump in there. But it is a word that describes how a man feels when he's happy, when he's satisfied. The word content. So it's not wrong to use it in this context. And I hope that we don't make it into a bad word. I think we just have to understand how to interpret it. Now, it would be safe to say that if you were to have a conversation about this, say at a neutral time, say you're just sitting, talking to each other across the table and just enjoying your time with each other and just really coming to a meeting of the minds. And I say this openly because you don't want any setup. You don't want to create a situation where they think they answer the word or answer the meaning of the word and you're going to interpret that as not good enough. See, because that is front loaded. That means you're not going to hear what the man has to say about it. And I'm speaking to women because this conversation came about because I was speaking to a woman about this very feeling that she had. And as I understood what she was talking about, I did try to give her a man's perspective on it. And by doing so, I hope that what led from that conversation was more clarity and not confusion. Certainly, a man would want his lover, his partner, to know that he cares about her. I mean, there are lots of things men do. Men buy gifts. That's, gifts, that's an act of love. There's words, there's gifts, there's acts of service. There's about 5 of them in there, and I just remembered those off the top of my head. And as that expression comes about in a physical way when they're lovemaking, there's lots of passion that's exchanged during then. I mean, that's an expression of a man's love for you. And, think of this thought. How many times has a guy worried about getting it wrong because he doesn't want to upset his partner? I mean, that's definitely concern. And I don't mean just get out of the doghouse kind of thing, because we know when you screw up, then, yeah, you've got to clean that up. But I'm just talking about guys who genuinely want to please their partner, and not just for sex, but just because they really like seeing that happy look on your face when you're pleased with who they are. That feeling inside a man when he feels accepted and respected. That's a great feeling for a guy. That's a great feeling. And guys follow that up with action all the time. Believe me, ask him to do something when you've just given him an emotional boost like that. He'll do anything for you. He'll move mountains for you. Guys love that feeling. They love feeling respected, appreciated, and don't withhold that. You know what? Even if you're a friend to a guy, a lady, walk up to him and tell him how much you really appreciate and respect him for who he is. And he will ask you, what can I do for you to make you have a better day? How's that for love and attention? I'm going to take a short break, and I'll be right back. Stay tuned.
the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
And we're back. I've been talking about contentment, and it's from a man's perspective. And to recap, the contentment is not a reflection in terms of like minimal caring. It is not that at all, not from a man's perspective. And the reason the connection is to sex has to do with the fact that when men are sexual and they've had an orgasm, they are content. They're happy. Remember, happy, contentment, those words tend to kind of go together, happy and content. And when you reflect on it from that perspective, then you understand how a man operates, what his thought process is like. Now, I know sometimes men can be a challenge to understand. Men say the same thing about women. So it goes back and forth. And that's not a bad thing. It's just that we have to learn how to interpret the opposite sex, not necessarily expect them to understand you, but understand what's going on in their mind. And it may mean you have to change the vocabulary, change some of the meanings to really grasp that. And once you're able to do that, sometimes it's like speaking another language too. But once you're able to do that, the communication works a lot better. Guys really love it when a woman understands what he means. Guys don't necessarily want to get into a contest where they one-up you in the vocabulary, because when it comes to love and your partner, you don't want to get into a contest, because ultimately, I think in a guy's mind, he's going to lose. He's going to lose this one, because if he upsets her, guess what? No sex. And that is not good. So what do? You try to play it right down the line. Find out what makes her happy. Try to say the things that make her happy or that make her less upset. So when the opportunity for lovemaking comes around, it'll be there for you. Yeah, it's kind of selfish, but it's not. Remember, he is thinking of you. He doesn't want to hurt your feelings or have to do damage control. You see, one of the things that you can do for a man is tell him exactly what you want. That makes it so much more clear. And he can deliver that in a snapshot. Boom. Okay, I could do that. Either in the next 5 minutes or after I finish this, I'll get right to it. Boom. That works. It works really well. What doesn't work is the passive aggressive thing, or when you give mixed signals. Because now he's trying to figure out, did I forget something? We can't. It's just too hard. We can't figure that out. Just tell us exactly what you want, and we'll get it. We'll deliver it. We'll make sure it happens. Because think about it. Underneath, guys are pleasers. They like I said, they like pleasing their partner. Because remember, as I mentioned earlier, guys really appreciate being respected and adored. And it falls right in line with that. And then the romance comes later. I mean, guys understand the deal. They understand how that works. So the less confusion, the better. So women, if you are bothered by something, tell the guy exactly what it is you're bothered with. And then he can get to the heart of the matter fairly quickly. There won't be a whole lot of negotiation around it because it's simple from that point. There's no guessing. And in a man's mind, when you're making him guess, it feels like it's a setup. It feels like it's a trap. Because once he falls in, then he can never get out. He can never do enough to fix it, to make it right. And remember, he didn't want to be in that situation to be wrong in the first place. He'd rather be making you happy. Because he knows if you're happy, it's easier for the lovemaking. And I'm going to add something else to this too, and it really goes a little deeper. When a man knows that you're happy, it makes him feel good because he knows he is reinforcing whatever it is that gives you the feeling of being supported and loved and understood. And from a man's perspective, he feels contentment in those moments. So as you see, it's one of these words that covers a lot of different feelings. Again, from a guy's perspective. And when you understand it that way, when a woman understands that from a guy's perspective, then she tends to get more of him, not just emotionally, but she tends to get more of him because now he feels that you understand it and what he's trying to do in making it better for the both of you. You see, men really enjoy getting it right for the sake of their relationship, for the sake of their partnership. I mean, men do take pride in their relationship and the feeling that their partner has in an ongoing basis. They say they have a lot of pride in that. So when you're happy, they can own it. They feel like they've done something that really matters to you. So going forward, I think one of the takeaways from this is when it comes to contentment, it's not about how a man feels, but it might be more clearer to ask how he expresses his feeling. Because some people are very demonstrative in their expression of contentment, meaning happy, joy, all of that. Men feel it the same way, but they express it in different ways. And if you have somebody in your life that expresses it in a way that's a lot more mute or toned down, and you interpret that as a lack of emotion, a lack of commitment, or something in that regard, then I think you would, as a partner to somebody like that, probably feel that he's not that invested, when it's really just the opposite. He's very invested, but being the individual, like I say, we all express it differently. So going forward, I hope that we have a better understanding of how to interpret contentment, and that it's not just a laziness, which some people would consider it that, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of action around it, especially if somebody is relaxed, they're relaxed. But that's a good thing. That doesn't mean that they're not invested. So now that we can have a better conversation around this, I think it's much more clear. We can all be on the same page. There will be fewer surprises. And I think both partners get to be happy with this. I'm John Johnson. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.